Hello and welcome to the Silver King's War. I'm Michael Sievers, the writer, producer, and creator of this podcast series about my father's Second World War as a B-26 bombardier. Today we continue in the King's writings, Dearest Ones, as he's in late November of 1944 from A-72. He writes to his family on November 21st, 1944. Dearest Ones, I received your very welcome letter of November 7 today. Also, there was a very sweet letter from Leona. When your letter arrived, I thought surely it would contain news of Leona. It seems as though the stork is taking his own sweet time. The suspense is so bad, I hope the next letter will relieve it all. I'm really glad you're enjoying yourself in Chicago. According to Leona's letter, Dad was also there. That's news to me. I suppose you wrote me about it, but it hasn't arrived yet. He must have had a grand time with the kids. It's a shame he can't ever spend more time with them. Perhaps it won't be too long before we're all living in Chicago for good. That will certainly be a great day. At the moment, I can honestly think of nothing better. I'm surprised you haven't received more mail from me. You certainly should have as often as I've been writing. However, I've sent all of them home. Perhaps that has caused some delay. You'll more than likely receive most of them at the same time. I do hope you'll take good care of yourselves in the cold weather. You know how a cold gets you down. The weather has been fairly nice here. The really cold weather is yet to come. I'm all set for it now, though. My baggage has finally come. It was a great relief to find it all intact. Going through it was like receiving an Xmas package, as I had completely forgotten what all I had in it. Anyhow, now I can go to Paris without looking like a tramp. You've never mentioned if you had received my allotment from September and October. Please let me know. I hope you're well. I'm feeling fine, living comfortably. By the way, I received a long letter from Sherry. He is fine and in the same group as Bill. He hasn't heard either if he is a father yet. His wife is also due at any moment. You can imagine his anxiety. Please keep writing often. I'll do the same. Love to Ida. I love you and miss you, Stan. Stanley is happy to share the very good news that his baggage has finally arrived. He enjoyed perusing it, and of course, now he's feeling like he may be ready for Paris. He also shares the wonderful news that he finally heard from J.J. Sherry. It's clear from Stan's time in training with J.J. and the other guys that he misses them, and he hopes that they are safe and will survive the war. And he writes to his family on November 24th, 1944, Dearest Ones, slowly but surely the back mail is coming in. Yesterday I received your sweet letter of October 14. I'm glad you received my allotment for September. Now I don't have to worry about it. It should continue to arrive regularly from now on. I don't know if you received the letter I wrote from England in which I asked you to make an additional $150 deposit for me. If you did receive the letter and did make the deposit, I should owe you a total of $300. Of the $300 which you deposited, I have issued checks for $210. One of the checks was made payable to a Miss O'Neill for $60. She is the wife of one of the fellows here. He asked me to write it that way for his personal reasons. I'm telling you this so you won't get the wrong idea when the canceled checks are returned. As I have previously written you, I wanted you to keep 2 of my allotments as payment of what I owe you. However, since you have already deposited it, you can keep the next 2 that you receive. This is the way I want it to be, so please don't give me any arguments. You were sweet to advance me. Now I want to pay you back. By the way, how did you deposit the allotment? Did you put 50 in my checking account and 100 in my savings account as we had planned, or all of it into my checking account? Yesterday being Thanksgiving, we had quite a bit of celebration. With just receiving our liquor ration, everyone was well stocked for a big party. We only had one meal during the day, and it was a terrific dinner. They started serving at 2 in the afternoon and continued until no one could eat another mouthful. There was all the turkey dressing one could eat. It was practically coming out of my ears when I finished. Besides that, someone got the brilliant idea of opening a bottle before eating to give us an appetite. With an empty stomach, I was half tight. After eating, I completed the job and got real drunk. All in all, it was an exciting day. Yesterday, I received a letter from Sherry saying he had heard from his wife. On November 1, they were blessed with a girl. I can imagine his relief. As soon as I finish this, I shall write him. No more news. I'm fine. Hoping you're the same. Please keep writing, and please send me some stamps. Love to Ida. I love you and miss you, Stan. Stanley remains a stickler for details as he negotiates with his parents over where to put his allotments. And, of course, he's describing a sumptuous Thanksgiving meal where he and his guys got tight. They had fun and enjoyed the day. And perhaps the best news was a letter from John Sherry saying that they had a little girl. Stan really loved Sherry like a brother and imagined a life after the war not unlike what Sherry has with a family. The king writes to his family on November 26, 1944, Dearest ones, I have received your letter of October 20, the one in which you told me of your plans to go to Chicago. I hope you weren't angry because I wrote home instead of Chicago. The mail is so unpredictable. I thought it best to do it that way. Besides, Dad could forward the letters to you as well as you sending them the other way. I can well appreciate your anxiety to hear from me at the time of writing, though the delay should be well explained by now. Since arriving here, I've tried to write as often as possible, and I feel sure you have done the same. However, that doesn't seem to matter because only 2 letters from you have come to this APO. So you see, there is nothing either of us can do to alter the situation. Therefore, there is no need for you to worry when you don't hear from me. Perhaps after Xmas rush, things will adjust themselves. This is another quiet Sunday afternoon. For a change, it isn't raining. In fact, the sun is shining and almost as warm as a day in spring. I slept until noon. It's getting to be an awful habit. Getting up early has become a horrible ordeal. We had a movie in the mess hall last night. It was a musical, not particularly good, but we all enjoyed it immensely. I guess it wouldn't take much to satisfy us. I am so sorry to hear Jack Pines is on his way over. I can very easily sympathize with anyone in the infantry. Each time I think about it, I thank God I'm in the Air Corps. Jerome must be having it easy where he is. Is he a captain yet? I doubt if I'll ever get to see him if he never gets into the war here in France. And when I go to Paris December 5, I expect to run into some of the guys I know, as you usually do. One of the fellows received a box of fudge from home yesterday. It took 7 weeks for it to get here, but it was delicious anyhow. If I thought you could make some that good, I would request it. Another fellow received a box containing 2 pounds of American cheese. It was put up in a separate wooden box. Believe me, it was truly out of this world. Please, if you can send me food like that, do so, as I would appreciate it very much. No more news for now. I hope this finds you well and not too lonesome. Take care of yourselves and write often. Love to Ida. I love you and miss you, Stan. One of Stanley's challenges throughout the war was to get his mother to understand that it wasn't his fault the mail was so unreliable. He was at war, and she needed to understand the circumstances. But Sarah Bell was stubborn, and it was always a challenge for the king. Of course, he remains hungry and describes in detail what his buddies are getting from home, and using that as information to spur on his parents for more goodies, as he writes to his family on November 28th, 1944. Dearest ones, thank goodness the old mail is still coming in. With the recent mail so few and far between, there wouldn't be anything without it. Today I received your letters of October 7 and 9 and also the pictures of Richie. As always, when there is word from you, my anxiety is satisfied and my day complete. As for Richie's picture, I couldn't ever say enough about it. He is absolutely adorable, as handsome as could be. But he surely has grown to be a big boy. I can imagine the fun you must be having with him in Chicago. All the fellows agree what a fine-looking boy he is. I'm glad you received one of my letters from England. Your letters have come in so scarcely, I can't remember whether you ever received my other ones. I hope you did, because I'm sure it answered most of your questions. Thanks a million for making the deposit as I requested. As far as I know, you have made 3 deposits for me, 2 of your own and 1 from my allotment. I had hoped you would keep my allotment as partial payment for the 2 first deposits. Since you didn't do, though, I expect you to keep the next 2. I certainly have no need for the money now, and besides, I still have a balance of $215. So please keep the next ones as a favor to me. The boxes you've mailed sound wonderful. If only they would begin to arrive, all would be well. The rope sounds swell. I'm glad you bought one. I never believed I could use one over here, but I've changed my mind now. It will be a great comfort, believe me. The food sounds absolutely marvelous. I can hardly wait to receive it. It certainly couldn't come soon enough to suit me. As for the miniatures, you could have just as well used the space for some other things. My liquor ration for the month was a 5th of black and white scotch. This with the champagne and gin and cognac, I have plenty. Thanks just the same. I won't have any trouble getting rid of it. I'll let you know as soon as one arrives. I still can't believe Leona has another baby. I suppose it will be that way until I get to see her. In the meantime, please write me all the details. I know you'll be busy watching over everyone, but write whenever you get the chance. I'm anxious to know all, and sincerely pray all is well. This has been a miserable day, rain and cold. It isn't a fit night for man or beast. I hope when I get to Paris in a week it will be much better. Dad, I suppose you'll be running back and forth quite often now that the baby has come. Please take care of yourself and don't be too lonesome. Mother, I am sending this home as I wrote to Chicago yesterday, and I want each of you to hear from me. Good night for now. I'll write again soon. Keep well. Love to Ida. I love you and miss you, Stan. It's clear throughout the Silver King's war letters, his dearest ones, that he relishes the role to be as Uncle Stanley to young Richie and his soon-to-be arriving sister Margie. And the king is preparing for his trip to Paris as we reach the end of his letters from A72 in November of 1944. And you are listening to the Silver King's War.